Hi, I'm Jonathan Tessier, and we're back here with another one of our health tip series with our nutritionist, Rebecca. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I'm good. So today we're going to be talking about sleep. So let me ask you, how was your sleep last night?
It was a little bit shorter. We had an early meeting this morning, so it was a little shorter, and I'm feeling the effects of that, but pretty good overall. How about you?
I had really good sleep. I slept for a good amount of time, and then the dogs upstairs woke me up, so...
Something you can't get away from.
Can't control that.
Yeah.
But, so let's talk a little bit more about sleep. So why is it so important?
Yeah, sleep is important for just about every kind of thing that your body is doing. I think, in our kind of fast-paced world, we tend to spend a lot of time in like fight or flight mode, and sometimes sleep is kind of what takes the back burner a lot of the time. And hopefully, what we can talk about today is empower you to really kind of take control and use that as the act of like ultimate self-care to get this really awesome sleep. So sleep is important for a lot of different kind of things that happen in our body. It impacts your immune system. It impacts, I'm sure you can imagine how you might feel after a poor night's sleep. Maybe your memory isn't as good, you're not as productive, you're not as motivated. I know for me, what I notice is my blood sugar is a little bit wonky if I've had a shorter amount of sleep. And that I find is kind of a really interesting one. What happens is you've got two kind of hunger hormones. Well, there's lots of different hormones that impact your hunger, but two of the main ones are called leptin and ghrelin. So ghrelin I think of as like growl, so that's the hormone that tells us we're hungry. And then leptin is a hormone that tells us we're satiated, we're full, and we've had enough. And they go in opposite directions when we haven't had enough sleep. So ghrelin is higher, telling us we're hungrier. Leptin is lower, and it's not signaling that we've kind of been satiated and have enough food. So I know that I notice that a lot when I haven't had enough sleep. I'm craving more carbohydrates, I'm wanting more sugar, and I can't go kind of as far between meals. Have you ever noticed anything like that on a poor sleep?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Or you're trying to function through the day and you just can't.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
happened.
So important kind of for our appetite and our diet. Also important for our memory. I think I mentioned that one. Really important for our immune system as well. That's a huge one this time of year. There's a little bit of a cleanup that's happening when we're sleeping for lots of different areas of the body, but especially our immune system. It's kind of looking around for anything that's underlying and trying to clean that up and support us as best that it can. The other thing that's impacted when we're not getting enough sleep is our cortisol goes higher. So that's one of our major stress hormones is cortisol. So that really shoots up when we haven't had enough sleep as well. I think just overall, like those who fail to consistently get proper sleep tend to be more at risk for kind of chronic disease. So it's really something that is to be taken seriously. And I heard someone say it's really the ultimate act of self-care to really take awesome care of your sleep and have great sleep hygiene, which we'll talk about a little bit further.
So we all sleep every single night, but we might not get a lot of sleep every night. So how much sleep should you be getting?
Yeah, so the research says about 7 to 9 hours a night, and you kind of have to play with what works for you. They say women need a little bit more sleep than men, so that's a factor that you can factor in. And yeah, everyone's going to be a little bit different, but that 7 to 9 is a good guide for adults. For teens it's going to be longer, and then of course I won't speak to children, that's a whole different ball game, but you want to be, I always try to aim for that like kind of 8-hour sweet spot. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what are some common myths about sleep that some people believe?
Yeah, more is better, which is a really interesting one. I think that's like a myth across the board in kind of Western culture. More must be better if some is good. So so some risk increases when you're getting too much sleep, including, and that's something I missed about the importance of sleep, is those who aren't getting enough sleep, also you see more anxiety and depression, but the same thing happens with those who are getting too much sleep as well. So that would be one myth, and the other one would be, that alcohol and marijuana help your sleep. That would be a big myth that I'd like to talk about. While both of those things can help you get to sleep more easily, they actually impact your sleep cycles, most notably your REM sleep. So you're not getting that really deep restorative sleep. Like I said, while it might help you fall asleep and make you a little more drowsy, in the long term, it's really disrupting those sleep cycles. So
absolutely, yeah. There's been times where I've gotten 9 hours of sleep and I get up and I'm all wonky and everything. So that makes sense.
That happens, yeah.
Yeah. So does it help to take a nap in the middle of the day?
Certainly, yeah. I think that could almost go in the myth column too, is I think some people think naps are maybe not so great a good not so great of an idea, but naps are a great option. Like I said, we spend a lot of our time in fight or flight, so any rest that we can get is going to be helpful. One of my favorite people to go to when I'm learning more about sleep, his name is Matthew Walker. He's a researcher, and he suggests about, I think it was like 10 to 20 minute naps. So that sounds really short. Or if you're not doing the 10 to 20 minutes, you almost want to make sure you're getting a full sleep cycle. Otherwise, you might wake up kind of pretty groggy and no better than you were before. I know that's usually the case for me if I'm having a nap, but it does more harm than good for me. But yeah, sort of that 10 to 20 minute is a great option. The other thing you can do is called non-sleep deep rest. So you can kind of look that up. There's different it's almost like a meditation that you can walk through, and you're not necessarily sleeping, but you're having this deep restorative rest, kind of like a body scan. Yoga nidra is something that can be looked into. So if you know you're not a napper, but you know you need some rest kind of in the day, that yoga nidra or non-sleep deep rest is a great thing to look into for that.
This is something that I struggle with. Is it okay to watch TV as you're going to sleep?
So it's not ideal. Yeah. It's not ideal. I think you knew the answer.
Yeah.
That would be my answer. I think it's our circadian rhythm that we want to support, and light is a major factor of that. So if you think of kind of when we were living in like villages, and you might say, when before we had electricity, it was easier for our circadian rhythm to kind of flow with the sunrise and the sunset. And that's kind of what is disrupted when we're exposing ourselves to a lot of light in the evening or late at night via TV or lots of lights on in the bedroom and that kind of thing. So yeah, ideally no, because it's that light, but there's the blue light blocking glasses you can investigate, and maybe it just means a half hour before bed you're reading a book or listening to a podcast instead. Yeah.
Right. So can your diet impact your sleep quality?
Yeah, absolutely. So what comes to mind first with this is timing of your meals. I talked about how you're really kind of healing while you're sleeping, and ideally we're kind of supporting ourselves in that, in having all of our food digested before we're going to sleep. So that's an ideal. So maybe your last meal is 2 to 3 hours before bed. Hopefully that's fully digested by the time you sleep, and then your body can do what it needs to do while you're sleeping. So that's what comes to mind that way. Certainly, there's different foods that can be helpful in helping us get better sleep. Tart cherry juice, for example, releases more melatonin. So that's the hormone that tells us it's kind of time for sleeping. So, adding in foods like that kind of can help support as well. The other thing I think I mentioned is that on the other side of how it's going to impact your next day is not enough sleep is going to impact kind of your blood sugar and how much success you're set up for in the next day. Yeah.
Makes sense. So what are some products that can help with people having trouble getting to sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. So I brought a wide variety up just because there's a lot of different approaches that you can take with supplements and helping yourself sleep. So the first one I've got here is a magnesium bisglycinate from ITL Health. What's great about that magnesium is it's bisglycinate, so that means it's attached to glycine, and glycine is an awesome amino acid for relaxation. So overall relaxation, muscle relaxation, and your magnesium is going to help with that as well. So that's a good one. If you haven't seen our magnesium video, most of us are deficient anyway, so that's a great place to start. The other thing I brought up is L-theanine. This is Pure Labs slow release L-theanine. I'm a big fan of, this is kind of one of my, after magnesium, my go-tos when somebody's having trouble with sleep, especially when it's like mind running. L-theanine really helps to kind of calm the mind, focus the mind, and just allow us to stop that so we can get to sleep. And like I said, this is a slow release, so going to slowly release through the night. Really excellent specifically for sleep support compared to the regular, which I tend to recommend more for daytime use. The other product we've got here, so this is a mix. So you've got your L-theanine in here, 5-HTP, and melatonin. So the L-theanine and 5-HTP, again, are going to kind of more work on the mind and calming the mind and just giving you a calm feeling so you can feel ready to sleep. And then your melatonin is going to kind of make you sleepy. That's that sleep hormone I talked about is going to kick in and tell our brains it's time for sleep. This other product I've got here is the Pasco Flare. This is more of an herbal remedy for sleep, and it's mainly passion flower here. I think that's all that is in it, is your passion flower. So passion flower is a great one. Again, it's kind of like the herbal, similarly to kind of your L-theanine, really a calming herb. And I've got just passion flower tincture here as well, so that's an option. This is just kind of like more of a capsule base. Valerian is another great herb, a little bit more potent, I would say, sleep-wise than your passion flower. Another great herb that you can take to help you with sleep. Yeah, so one of the more popular supplements that I'm sure most of us have heard of for sleep is melatonin. So that would be another option. This guy here is 10 milligram melatonin, which might be a lot for someone who hasn't taken it before. So usually you can start at 1 or 3 milligrams. But I just brought this one because it's the slower release tablet. So 5 milligrams is going to release right away to get you to sleep, and then 5 milligrams is going to release later in the night to keep you asleep. So lots of different varieties of melatonin out there. If you are newer to it, I certainly recommend starting lower, or sometimes, it can have like funky dreams or wake up feeling a little bit groggy the next morning. But yeah, lots of different options, and really, you just kind of have to reflect on, well, okay, am I having trouble falling asleep? Am I having trouble staying asleep? How was my diet today? Is that the impact? Did I have coffee? That's something we didn't talk about. Your caffeine consumption. Ideally, you're stopping drinking coffee around noon, because that can really impact your sleep. Even though it might not impact your sleep in that you can't fall asleep, but it just might impact the quality of the sleep and how deep of sleep that you're getting.
So it sounds like it's not just about getting to sleep, it's about having a good sleep and having good sleep quality and good sleep hygiene, and there's a lot more to it than just hitting the pillow.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I think just to quickly touch on some sleep hygiene, like you said, it's going to be like that light. What are you exposing yourself to? A lot of light before bed? How cool is your room? You want a nice cold room. What else can I say? Darkness, like you want really like blackout curtains or maybe like a sleep mask. Those kinds of things can factor into getting just that better quality sleep as well.
Well, so it sounds like sleep quality is very important to your health and your mental health and your physical health. And if you have any trouble sleeping, we have many supplements here at Joanne's place that you can use to help you aid in your sleep, or you can talk to one of our nutritionists who will give you some great advice on sleep quality and all that stuff. So we'll be back with another series soon. But for now, thank you, Rebecca. Have a good one.
Have a good sleep.